Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another Last Epoch dev stream. As usual, I'm your host, Mike. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Oh, Cyborg, not so much luck. Be a weird time for us to do that. Someone else is still going pretty strong. we gotta pick the shot, right? We gotta find the gap, find the window. Get everything done. All right, yeah. We are a recap from last time. We downed Aberoth. Yeah. We decided that it was the 2% all res that I got from here that brought my resistances to almost capped enough that it was enough. So we're here to push corruption a little bit. Like to see how high I can get my corruption. My next goal is crafting a sweet chest. And my idols. My idols are such trash. I need to fix my idols so bad. I know I need to corrupt them. I know I need to like get better ones. Just in general, my idols are terrible. I'm also looking at what primordial, because we don't have a primordial item right now at all. There's no T8, no fancy legendary. And I'm looking at the crit amulet, the big bow, Hydra bow, and what my original plan was just a really sweet chest. Now it's really tough to craft the chest, and so I'm scared of that. So I'm kind of tempted to just go with one of the other two, because I'm lazy. I feel like I could get a really nice chest anyways. Get more ward on shadow creation there would be a big thing. I think we might, after we kind of finish this character, I'm gonna switch to either Blade Dancer on this, or maybe a Spellblade, but probably just Blade Dancer on this. We'll see. Yeah, if this is your first time here in stream, welcome. Glad to have you with us. We stream for charity. It's above my head right there. Everything that comes from stream goes to them. This is more about you asking me questions and me answering them. So if you do have a question, please feel free to ask it. And they'll get funneled over to me, and I'll do my best to answer it. Put at Last Epoch Game in the question if it's like one you'd like me to answer on stream, or at Last Epoch on YouTube if you're watching there. And so let's just dive right in. We're gonna push this up. This is gonna immediately cause a shade to spawn. Push there. What primordial are you using? Yep. I feel like I accidentally answered that right in chat. I've been practicing with WASD movement. Partially because I've been trying to test it for other builds and other scenarios, and just have a better ability to test it for skill development in general. But I'm not confident enough with it yet. Maybe we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. I don't have that many keys to press. Can still click, which is nice. Is this always...
You must tell me what sort of beasts dwell in your time.
Okay, see, I was doing it on a different class, so it is always forward. Interesting. It's always forward. Okay, I'm not gonna be used to that enough. We're gonna stick. I was trying to do it again. Yeah, I'm not using a primordial yet. I just had kind of plans to make a primordial chest that I never got around to. I didn't want to get used to using another primordial. And like get comfy with it and not have the other slot that I would need to get built out properly eventually. Ready to go. I'm not using shift I forgot shift was a thing. Like, why do I feel so slow? There we go. That would be really funny if it just dropped. Still 1 LP on the gloves. It's kind of nice. Let's see. Okay, if we are hypothetically gonna grab this, we do just like we have enough. Enough for this too. They both like horns. Let's just grab one. Let's grab 2. What's happening with scales here? You just sum those up. Both 4s, that's nice. One's more than just about everything, isn't it? Yeah. In literally everything. I still got the shurikens on it still though. Are we just gonna start like, let's start slamming and corrupting. Let's see if we can get something nice.
Trading with you.
We're just gonna start Nemesis and slamming our Hydra Arcs and see if we can get some shurikens on them and see what happens. Oh, hello. Don't actually want that. All right. Use thumb to move. It's great just as you try it sometime. Thumb, eh? I... My brain is short-circuiting here. I can't do it. It's causing, it's like the sideways pressure on the mouse is causing the cursor to like jitter to the side. You make my brain hurt. I didn't have enough going on in there to be able to afford pain this way. Okay, cool. Should have spawned. Why didn't that spawn a Isn't that far enough behind that it should just auto spawn? Maybe there's no room? Maybe it spawned these ones first and there was no room. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Let's see if it'll do it for this. Let's see if it'll do it for that Uber Abby-Wen. That's the thing. Okay, so I don't think that I'm going to be able to successfully do Uber on this build. It's possible. I have seen it's done. You know, like I've gone and looked and checked in the stats. People have done it.
Too easy.
Mostly with Hydra Arc, actually. But I don't know if I'm capable of doing it with this build. I think there might be a level of like mechanical mastery that I lack.
Easy, too easy.
So I'm thinking about Rogue as a like a Blade Dancer as an option instead. But I don't know if I want to play too much Blade Dancer right now. Can we get in a future season for our character to interact / speak with the Harbingers and Aberoth? It would be really cool to see the back and forth while we're fighting them. Oh, like just like triggered voice lines. I really like that sort of thing. I would love that. I would love little like, because we do have like little chirps. What are they called? Barks, not chirps. We do have little barks that happen. I know the technical term for things. We do have little barks that happen. But having them be reactive to the boss, I think would be really cool. Having them like say specific things based on which boss it is in certain situations, like they hit certain health thresholds, or like use certain abilities, or hit you with a certain ability. I think things like that could really bump it up a little bit. All right, we're get to 462. We can push higher. Yes, we can.
The silence wakes.
We're in bunch of testing review stuff is happening today. Oh, it looks so good. Very excited about next season. Good evening, Mike. Good evening. I'm curious if there are any game companies you are keeping an eye on outside of obvious examples. One, watching as a dev with professional impressions, and two, as a player on more hopeful or interested in what other game devs are doing. Well, I mean, like, so there's, I don't think this is what you're asking for, but like the obvious answer as soon as it said it was, I'm like, Nintendo, because Ocarina of Time remake just got announced. Oh my god, I'm excited. And so like, not for the reasons you're looking for at all, I don't think. But yes, very excited about that. Who makes? Who makes this? Unfrozen? Is that who it is? Is it the publisher or the developer? The new Heroes game. Unfrozen developer. Yes, that's right. Very keen on the new Heroes game and just like that process. It's really cool to see them as a studio coming out and like picking up this old IP, bringing in the original designer developer to like consult on it a little bit, give feedback on it. I don't think he was like, I think maybe he's like a producer credit or something like that. I don't know the full extent of his involvement, but I do know that he was at least a little bit involved. He was doing an interview recently.
Run from
So that's really cool, is seeing these like new studios take up the flag of old games, old game franchises and IPs, and like, whoa, yeah, I'm definitely not making out of this alive. Too crowded. This is a big piece of feedback I've had recently. Is the omens being in this, because the omens are placed in the same way that the omens are placed in the same way that the all the other mechanics are placed, and so many of them are like tiny. It doesn't matter, like where a rift beast shows up can be just a little tucked away spot because there's one enemy that comes out. Sometimes like a half dozen things come with it, or you go into the portal, so that can be tucked away. But the omen needs, I think it needs more breathing room, so I think we need to work on that a little bit. Other development studios that I've been looking at, like Day 9 spinning up a studio. I'm a big Day 9 fan. It's no secret. And so he's spinning up a studio right now, working on a pretty secret hush project at the moment. And it's been cool to see like the insights of starting up a studio, because it's the second time he's started up a game. And hearing sort of like tidbits of insights as he's playing other things is neat. I've been playing a build without a movement ability recently. Like everyone I build, I put E on movement. Just always E is my movement ability no matter what. And I've been playing a build recently without one. I keep forgetting that it exists. Like, cause the main attack is the movement. Rewiring my brain. I should have played this this morning. I was playing new stuff. Also fixing a Marrow Shards bug this morning. Not from live, one that I introduced in a new content coming out. We've had a bunch of new systems, new workflows set up for QA stuff, and it's been really good. It's been really good. We've been getting stuff in faster and catching more things earlier, and it's working fantastic.
That was close.
Got another question in. Woohoo! I love questions. I live off your questions. Without them, I'll die. All right. Do you think there's room for another resource pool like mana or HP? Like a third globe, or like, are we talking like a split mana globe, like kind of like Demon Hunter and D3 sort of thing? If yes, do you have an example of how it could be done? To me, the obvious resource pool would come from kill count or kill combo or some type of rage to build up to consume. Outside of HP mana / some type of combo resource, I personally have found most games end up doing just mana with extra step and a weird name. Yeah. I think it works really well as a specific mechanic for specific builds. So you have this like core structure for the way that the whole game works, and that needs to be really straightforward. I don't want to say simple, but it needs to be something familiar, something adaptable, something that's versatile, something you can take and put on basically any class. And you can say, hey, this is now the resource structure for anything, and mana works really well for that, because it's a clear resource structure of like, this is the one you have, and if you run out of this you die, and this is the one that lets you do things. And then you start working in other resource structures that are maybe a little less obvious, but that's what they are. Like each individual skill has a resource structure of its own in cooldowns. So some of them are infinite, some of them are limited. Some of them have multiple charges. Some of them recharge quickly. Some of them recharge slow. But yeah, there's that secondary resource there. Then we do also use health, as you mentioned, as a resource. Sometimes we use ward as a resource. Maybe we will eventually use ward as a resource. I'm jumping ahead of myself there. And then so I think apart from that, you end up with specific classes that can use different resources as well, and I think that's interesting. So having a generic one is probably not something we would do, but for example, we do use rage, which is mana with extra steps, on shapeshifting. So there's like it like continually decaying, and you can build it up by attacking things, right? So it's a different resource that way. It's kind of almost the inverse of mana. Whoa, that was close. Not out of the woods yet. And then we also do things. Void squirrels, let's go. I don't know. I'm still going. Oh, there's a. That's fine. Doing it. Other classes that have different resources. We have so like Necromancer will sometimes use their minions as a resource. Rune Master has the runes that they generate, which they then use as a resource. So we do have these alternate resources that are set on specific classes. And so I do like the idea of having more of those things on specific classes. Bleed. So yeah, I could see like maybe similar to like the example I just gave with D3, where there's like a split resource on a single class. So you split mana globe in half, and you put a second resource in place there. I could see things like using ward as a resource. There's what are some other examples? PB2 has the runic ward system that can be used as a defense or resource. Sort of like health buffer on the underside. By default, it's kind of similar to our endurance, even a little bit. I noticed that it has a very similar effect, actually, where it generates these moments of, oh my god, I almost died, but somehow I survived. That's kind of what the goal behind endurance was. Sorry. What other secondary resource systems do we have or could create? Did I say minions as a resource? Yeah, I did.
That was close.
Yeah, I think there's some other cool options too. I don't want to necessarily say them all because maybe we use one of them soon. But yeah, I think there's room for more class specific individual resources or alternate resources, but I wouldn't want to expand the base system at all. It could be like every single person has this new resource of like every time you kill an enemy, there's a little orb that pops out onto the ground, and you can go pick it up to power up some energy resource, some like bloodlust resource, and if your bloodlust gets high enough, you get certain buffs, or maybe you can. Ooh, would you looky there? Even a high roll. Good golly. We might be, because we have another 3 there as well. 28. Oh, not as good. Doesn't matter. 2 3 LPs now. We should be slamming those. Because we slammed good, but we didn't hit on the corruption. I don't want to go to the shop one. I just go shop while I'm doing this. Seems weird.
Reflection stars.
Follow up to the above. Could a diminishing kill count mana pool thing work as a resource pool? I'm thinking like you kill a mob, you get a ward like soul resource, and to use the skill you need to have a set amount of souls. If to use said soul skill. This isn't a suggestion, just building off last question. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's kind of similar to what I was thinking with it, where yeah, like bloodlust was the same sort of thing. Maybe you probably typed that before I mentioned the bloodlust thing. And yeah, like your bloodlust could fade over time if you stop killing. But like that's the sort of mechanic that thematically fits really well with like a I don't know, like a barbarian class, but really doesn't fit very well with a mage class, you know? So, oh yeah, okay. Not working on a barbarian class. Asterisk, for the record. But if we were to put that specific mechanic with that specific theming, that's, you know, it would be on a specific class and not a generic thing. And I think you could also you could also theme it differently as well, like so the version you have there, but like a soul skill or something like that, you could pretty easily make that into like a lich mechanic or a warlock mechanic or something like that. And you can you know, rebrand that however you want. You could do it as like arcane instability and use it as a mage thing or something, you know. Arcane entropy, I don't know, something like that. That sounds pretty cool. Let's go actually do the objectives here, Mike, instead of just wandering around killing stuff.
This moment will shatter.
Easy. Too easy.
You say that, but we just died. Oh. Yeah, I'm not picking up the 0 LP Quicksilver. Alright, so at this point, what can we expect from the new content for Season 5? Would it be more in-depth endgame, or we have new endgame mechanics to farm? So the details of what is coming in Season 5 is unrevealed so far. I can't share specifics on what's coming. As soon as the teaser trailer comes out, there'll be like probably get some more like little peeks behind what's going on. I don't know what we've said so far. I don't want to. All right, let's take a peek. Let's go look at what have we talked about with Season 5 so far. You know what I'm gonna do? Derek, can you link me the roadmap so I can look and see? If you have a moment, please. What happens when I do that? Old roadmap. That old roadmap was for chat, because I saw someone say new roadmap. No, there's no new roadmap. Old roadmap. Because I think that's the last thing we said about Season 5. Actually, no, there was another post, wasn't there? There was another post about like a look ahead, a peek ahead, or something like that. I don't want to just sit here on stream with doing nothing. But yes, it's the any details that we've shared that I can tell you about are in posts on our forums, should be in the news channel. Like anything I'm going to tell you about what's coming in Season 5 is already shared there. I don't have any new info about it right now. I'm sorry. I've got one little teaser for later, but that's it. I'm very excited to talk about it. I can say that. I'm real excited about it. I'm always excited about it though, you know?
They won't forget.
This is why I was looking at the crit amulet as well, is because like all the numbers are yellow. They're just all yellow. How come we haven't seen any items that increase base mana regen? Really short version is real strong. Slightly more in-depth version. Basically, the entire mana structure of like the pretty well every ability is primarily balanced around mana, how frequently you can use it. So the mana cost, mana gating is what we wanted to keep as and this is like right from the very beginning of the game. Mana was the like limiting factor we wanted most to be like the primary. This is how frequently you can use this ability because this is how strong it is. So that you could, you know, line up big spikes of damage by dumping all your mana, but then you'd have to like recharge your mana sum. Or you could try and set up a sustain system where you can constantly use the same abilities, but maybe you're not using quite so heavy mana abilities. That's why a lot of abilities have like do more damage, cost more mana nodes in them. So you can customize the amount of mana that's being used in many situations. Most abilities have somewhere you can kind of customize the mana they cost. And any new abilities we bring in now are almost always have lots of that stuff. I say almost always because there might be an exception, but like, I always see them in a good way, I think. So why isn't base mana regen there? So the amount that it affects the amount that it affects your mana regen is so huge, and all of the sources of increase are scaled off of what the like main base that we know is going to be. Basically just so it doesn't balloon out of control is the short version. Like if we were to put base mana regen in on an item, the only way we found where it's like balanced to do so requires some ridiculous downsides on the items, and they just never feel good. So it's like we put in, there's one that we tried where it was like every ability gets like plus 4 seconds on their cooldown, which is insane. It's just really strong. And frequently is how we also manage the visual noise as well. Usually that's when cooldowns come into play, is when something's super visually noisy, we have to put a cooldown on it so it can't make the screen just everything all at once. All right, season 5. What have we revealed so far about season 5? We have said that there's a new seasonal mechanic, the Rage of Mortitas. So that's there's an endgame system. New endgame boss, Mortitas themselves. New paladin skill, Radiant Lance. Merchant skill and Circle of Fortune improvements. New uniques and set items. Balance and skill changes. So that's like, this is from December last year. So that's the amount we were willing to share 6 months ago about what's coming for season 5. I'm sure we've got some more stuff coming fairly soon. Part of the reason we haven't shared anything else since then is because we've been focused on season 4 as a primary thing. And we like to say this is what's next and not this is what's next too much. But we are getting very close to I think transitioning the focus here. All right. There's been some discussion lately around exalted versus legendary items. I was wondering what avenues would be the most realistic to tweak the balance between the two. To me, it seems like the issue of legendaries being super prominent arises from there being really good stat stick uniques as well as the legendary system maybe being a bit too good. Would something... I'm trying to like not die at the same time here. All right. I lost my place. It's a big question. Predominant rise legendary system maybe being a bit too good. Would something like making higher LP be rare across the board even be a viable change, or do you think it would be more? It has to be more granular. This is a you want me to have something to talk about for like an hour, don't you? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I mean, that seriously, that was good question. There's a lot to talk about here, a lot to unpack. We have been talking about it a lot lately. On Discord, on streaming the last few weeks. Internally, we've been having conversations about this as well. We haven't had the big game design meeting about this yet, so I don't want to make any promises. So this is Mike's thoughts on it right now. I do think that in general, when you look at, I think one indicator of imbalance between legendaries and exalted items is their popularity. And right now, there are a very significant bias towards legendary items in people's gear. Now, that's not to say that it's like that's enough of an indication right away that it's completely imbalanced and it's like huge shift. I think the difference in usage will often be significantly more pronounced than the difference in actual power. A very small difference in power can cause a very large difference in usage. I think that's really easy to happen in just about any system. So I think that really dramatic the really dramatic like shift. I think we get a lot of suggestions for really big changes to be made in the systems like this, and I don't think that many of them are viable to do. I think that we need to be a little bit more granular, a little bit more conservative in those changes, lest we end up in a situation where no one uses uniques anymore, sort of thing. And I think in general, uniques are more interesting to look at than an exalted item, because they have some effect that you just can't find anywhere else. They have some really neat thing that you're just like, you can't get this anywhere else. That's unique. And so just by that very nature, if there's going to be an imbalance, it is, I think, better that it shifts onto uniques rather than onto exalted items. Having said that, I would love to be able to claw back some of that territory into exalted items. And I think there's a few ways we can do that. And I think that the important part to understand is how intrinsically linked exalted and legendaries are, because you make legendaries with an exalted. I don't know, shocker, right? So there's certain parts of that process that certain parts of the process of making an exalted that have no impact on making a legendary. Things like changing the base type, things that's like sealing an affix, things like basically making a T8, that process of Rune of Evolution, things like that don't affect the eventual exalted items that come out of legendary items that come out of the system. So we can target things like that on the exalted side for buffs to to help bring back some of that power balance towards exalted without affecting legendaries. And then as far as legendaries, I think I've said this all for a long time, and I still think it's true, is that legendary items have this issue where in some cases they can promise the possibility of greatness, but in reality they're just a big old tease, and it's never going to happen because you look at an item like Hydra Arc, for example. I don't even know what the LPL on this thing is, but I bet it's high. And you look at this and you go, oh, that's a sweet item. And then you get it's actually a great example right here. You get this and you're like, oh my God, this is 3 LP. I found 2 of them with 3 LP. I should be able to find this with 3 LP, right? And you get this idea in your head that it's possible to find so much more power with these unique items than is actually possible. Or or maybe I shouldn't say possible, reasonable. And so I'd really like to see us put individual caps. This is part of the granularity part of it. I really would love to see individual caps for unique item legendary potential. And I think that would give us a way to tune individual knobs. So we can say like, hey, there's this unique that's like really popular, really powerful, and people are like at super high end pushing it to 3LP. Like it's super high end pushing it to 3LP, and it's like at unreasonable difficulties to get there. And maybe we cap it at 2. Maybe we make 2 the chase LP for it, and don't actually make it unreasonable. Make it something that you can expect to do if you grind for it and you target farm it. And hey, you got your 2 LP Hydra arc, and it's like, good job. But 3 is just not physically possible anymore. And I think having that clear endpoint to that that individual item is really positive. Even if there's like slightly better versions of it at that point still. So you can still get better corruptions on it. You can still get better, maybe better rolls on the base type, better rolls on the exalted that go onto it. You can get better slam because there's multiple LPs, so you don't not always getting the right thing slammed on it. So like there's still ways that you can push that 2 LP version of it and have different tiers or different power levels of that 2 LP version. But having that clear, this is the max you can get on it LP wise, I think is a really important step in the fun process behind legendaries, and also in the balancing process, because it gives us that extra knob to turn for each individual unique, and it's really easy to set them. Might as well look at what it is. Yep. Even just gonna shadow these.
Yes.
You. Straight out.
Stained in glass.
How's that? Did I answer the question? All right. I have a feeling I may have caused a bunch of questions to happen there because there's a bunch more in the document now. That's good. We'll come back to that. Keep answering these in order. Do you feel each of the mechanics in the game, exile mages, nemesis, tombs, cemeteries, rift beasts, own windows, etc. Etc. might be generous. That is not many more. But I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a clear purpose in the end game. A clear purpose. Yes, I think that there is. I think there are a lot of builds that have no reason to look at certain mechanics. And I think that's actually a good thing. I'd love to actually get a little bit more overlap in rewards so that you can. I think how does this? I'd really like to be in a situation where we had maybe a little bit more in-depth, a few more in-depth endgame things. Like I really appreciate the Weaver's Tree. Not gonna open this right now. I really appreciate having that Weaver's Tree and having that that extra depth in that system. I really love it. I would love to have a couple more systems that have similar levels of depth. Maybe if we took some of it away from, maybe we took some of the complexity away from the Weaver's Tree and sort of split it out into other systems. I think that would be really nice. But having a few more that have a little bit more complexity would be really good. I don't necessarily know if all of them need to have quite the same level. And I'd love it if there was like sort of 2 tiers of endgame systems. Like Exiled Mages could just be, you know, Exiled Mages as they are. And there's not a lot of depth. But they do have a clear purpose in that if you are looking for one of those affixes on your item, you can get it through that system. And that's their whole purpose is get that specific affix and, you know, have a little bit of a unique encounter that happens every once in a while. Which I think is perfectly fine to have systems that are of that depth and complexity. I do actually want to have a clearer solution on hand. Don't know if I have one. So I think each of them has a clear purpose in the endgame right now. If we're going to accept that clear purpose can be as simple as get the specific item type that it generates, yes. Otherwise, some of them don't. Where's the music? Is this really quiet in here? Yeah, okay, just a little bit quiet. Just ambiance. Black market token, we take those. Don't really need them anymore though, do we? Are there any things you feel could use a rework or more transformative Weaver tree support? Yes. Some definitely feel more necessary or universally useful than others, and I'm wondering how intentional that is. I don't think it's very intentional, really. I think it's the goal of the Weaver tree is to have a way for you to say, I like this mechanic, I want to get more out of it, I want to do it more. And I think naturally some of the mechanics have better things that come out of them. So that those, and I think that the disparity in what comes out of those mechanics being really powerful pushes the Weaver's tree in what you're going to take there probably a little bit more than I'd like it to. I'd prefer it to be, I like this mechanic, not what it gives is just better. It's just, this is like the objectively best and most powerful mechanic to get stuff, just like stuff out of. So I'm going to push that one. I'd like to, I think that the Weaver's tree could be a little bit more focused. And I think that the imprinting system needs to be. I'd like to split it off a little bit from the main tree. I think it's good that it's in the Weaver trees, but like maybe if it was all together and like unlocked some other way rather than like, because there's so much you can see it in the heat maps. The pathing for the Weaver tree is just like, hey, 2 items sold, nice. Pathing for everyone's Weaver tree. Like it's get to these nodes and call it a day. You know, and like a lot of them are like that. I should not have this here. I should put something new there. That's silly on my part. Well, maybe not actually. I'm gonna be, if I'm imprinting for a Hydra Arc now. Put an amulet there almost. You do have the basin. Ah, I'm rambling. Yeah, I think there's definitely, we've learned a lot about the way the Weaver tree works and the way players interact with it, especially since having all this new data available so easily, and not the data is available, but just having it be visually easy to look at. So I think we're looking at changes there. Speaking of metagate, and you've already kind of done something similar with life costs with Acolyte skills. Can we expect something like life cost and ward cost for future skills? Yeah, I think ward cost is on the table. I think ward cost is very much on the table. It can be done. I know how. We have the technology. Yeah, there's the Hydra Arc. It's like not even highlighting it. Not good enough. Yeah, I know it's not good enough. Okay, we might use it as a reroll bait later. Speaking of audio things, the pretty sure the player, all the player character audio rework's done, and we're moving on to bosses. Pretty excited about it. If possible to look at LE in third person, if possible to look at LE in third person perspective, kind of like this sort of perspective, but just like a little bit more tilted up so you can see a little bit better. If you were not an EHD dev, what would you say LE is lacking or is currently not being incorporated properly? Not asking as a criticism, more as if you had endless resources and employees, what would you want either overhaul or redo personally? I mean, the stuff that I really want is stuff we're doing. And the procedural generation, we call it PCG system, is top of mind for me for sure. That's something that, like, I wish we had built the game with a procedural generation system from the ground up. I wish we'd, like, right day one, I wish we were like, multiplayer, procedural generation. We're like the two things we're like, before we do anything else, let's set these two things up. That's kind of what I wish we had done. And if I could snap my fingers and add anything to the game, it would be, we already have multiplayer, so I would add procedural generation system for like a robust, versatile PCG system that could be implemented quickly and easily for just about any type of biome and situation, with like variable mechanics that you could place in them and all sorts of cool stuff. Like there's crazy stuff. Like I'll say, go look at there's an old video of like early in PoE's history where they're talking about their procedural generation system, and you can see that, like, just the basic building blocks of like early zones in the forest, where they're like, okay, well, there's always gonna be a river here, and there's always gonna be like a few crossings, and you know, the number of crossings is variable, but you always see it in this pattern and things like that. Like that style of thing, I'd really love to be able to like just put a few parameters into a level design system and have it spit out 1,000 different layouts that are similar but different. Sometimes I look over at chat.
Welcome to the past, traveler. Perfect aim.
Oh boy. Well, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Probably not appropriate for the game.
My fur is standing on end. She's close.
Considering we're getting Mortitas as an actual encounter, will Mortitas reach be moved to become a boss drop from them? That's a very good question. I don't think so. That's a good question, though. I feel like a good alternative could be like, it just has a like it could be not an exclusive boss drop, but maybe it could be like tacked on as like a frequent boss drop, so like it's part of his drop pool but not an exclusive part of his drop pool or something like that. I can see that happening. Has it ever come up to make Shaman a stronger companion-based mastery? For instance, Summon Scorpion has a great synergy with Avalanche, but Avalanche is Shaman only. And when moving away from Beastmaster, you lose so many companion buffs that the passive tree, that it's impossible to scale a Shaman companion build to be as strong. So cool synergies like that go out the window. Another solution could obviously be to make Avalanche available to Beastmaster. Yeah, so yeah, we have looked at this. Shaman does have a lot of minion synergies because totems are minions, right? And so you end up with the situation where you're like, okay, I like doing minion things because totems, but some of the minions that are available just like don't work, and these synergies that are locked behind skills that are locked, and yada yada. You've summarized it quite well, actually. I do think this is the sort of thing that has another interesting solution that you haven't mentioned, that I'd be more interested in pursuing. But yeah, I think this is the sort of thing that we've I think this is the sort of thing that I'd be interested in looking at. Let's see what the actual question is here. So, like, we're probably not going to move Avalanche or like off of being Shaman locked. I don't think. I mean, maybe. What are the locked Shaman skills right now? They are Storm Totem, Avalanche. Is there a third one right now? Is it just Storm Totem and Avalanche? Is Avalanche actually locked? Oh, I'm getting confused. Avalanche is locked. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's Storm Totem and Avalanche. Right, and then there's an open spot there still, right? Forgot about that. Storm Totem and Avalanche. Yeah, I mean, like you could. Okay, here's something you could do. You could just put another, like a synergistic ability in that spot instead. I don't like the idea of moving Avalanche off of Shaman, especially not to put it on like Beastmaster as a thing. All the same. Yeah, let's do that.
A fine choice.
Enough for one? No. How close are we? Pretty far away. Pretty far away.
Makes me eager for.
Well, now we've got a reason to do those. Sweet experience. Yes. Mike, you're carrying too much stuff again. Why do you do this to yourself? We don't need that.
Yes.
Do you guys have an internal model to calculate item power levels for LP, probably, etc., probability, etc.? Yes. It's not like a there's not like a, hey, this item has 7 power budget in its abilities and in its like affixes, and it has 2 power budget in its implicits, and then it gets another 2 power budget from its LP. And that calculates to LP2 or something like that. We don't have like a fixed model like that, so specific and like, okay, it suddenly has to, like, they all have to add up to 10 or something like that. It's not quite that rigid, I guess is the best way to say it. But we do look at and we also don't want them all to be exactly the same. We do want there to be some uniques that fit different issues, that fit like, hey, I'm going to use this in more of an early game item typically, and hey, this is the sort of like same sort of thing that you get unlocked later. So like there's specific items that are essentially upgrades to each other. Like Claw and Fang and the Acolyte, Exsanguinous and the Acolyte version of Exsanguinous. They're kind of just like riffs on each other. So yeah, we have ways that we look at, say, hey, this item is like really strong. It needs to have a lot of LP to make up for that in the late game, to at least compete or be like available to use as a possible option in some situations. Or hey, this item's really crazy strong and it doesn't need a lot, sort of thing.
Sons, take
How come exiled mages get their own COF rank, but other mechanics like Omen Windows don't? Personally, I feel like there should be a COF rank that just hits all tile rewards. Oh, it's like seasonal mechanics, yeah. Partially because we really want to avoid the situation where players are farming. Almost always the answer to this question is we found a situation where you could make the argument for having a COF character on your MG account, and it becomes this like burden of optimal play avoidance where we don't add something like that in, which is something that I've been pushing to ease up on quite a bit recently. Because for most people, oh, actually, that was something we were looking at. Because for most players, it doesn't affect you at all. And we're also looking at the key thing here is if we could split. I've said this before quite a few times, but if there was a way that we could split everything on MG and COF, not just the gear, so split your runes and split your gold and split your shards and split your keys and split all those, like split everything in this panel, split all of the things in this panel. Have it be an MG version and a COF version, completely split it. I think you'd lose a lot of those issues, and all of a sudden you could kind of just you could start slapping so many more things into COF rank rewards. This one's getting LP. I can feel it. We put so many of them in now. I mean, it's got to happen. Second one. The official LE build planner tools. There isn't one, for the record. Lots of skill damage calculators are still grayed out. Can we have it updated next season so that at least we can see proper damage numbers on build planning? It would be great help. Thanks. I assume we're talking about Last Epoch tools here. That is a third-party site. It is really good, but if that's what we're talking about, that is a third-party site. The person who does run it, damn it, is fantastic. He runs the same sort of site for Grim Dawn as well, and both are fantastic. I use them all the time. But yeah, they are those are unofficial sites. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that not what we're talking about? Let me know. Whoever's question that was, if we were talking about a different site, let me know. Why am I spamming at that? Reading chat. Right. That's all she wrote. We'll get to 100. We'll get to 100. Don't worry. It will happen. Thoughts on less global drops and more boss chase drops, like timeline bosses having more than 4 items and so on. Yeah, I think I think less drops in general and higher quality drops in general, I think would be a very positive thing. Yeah, I just saw in chat Crimson. Yes, it is unofficial. Be nice to him though, because he puts a ton of work into it in his own time. He does a great job on it. He's also implemented things that I've asked for, because there's certain things that he had really good views for certain things, and I'm like, I wish you had this for the same sort of, for like, I think it was passives didn't used to be incorporated into the skills list. And I love just searching. People ask questions about skills and passives all the time. I'll get back to the drops question here in a second. Sorry, but people ask about like what does this skill do? What does this passive do? And half the time I'm like on my phone or just like the game's compiling or something, and I don't have access to things, and being able to look it up quickly, and it searches really well. And I wanted to have passives there too, so I asked him to add that, and he did. I assume it was because I asked, but he may have been planning it anyways. Either way, does a fantastic job on it. So if you're gonna ask him for something, be nice. It's all at his own time. Anyways, thoughts on less global drops and more boss chase drops? Yeah. So I think that having just smarter loot, I think would be good. We really steered away from smart loot a lot, and I think for good reason. But I think we may have steered a little too far away from it. And I think we also have a lot of gear that just has no real place in endgame, that still drops in endgame, cluttering things up for very little purpose. We tried to do things like, there was, for a very long time, there was an Easter egg. I'd call it an Easter egg because no one knew about it. Was white items, so just like blank normal items, could drop with dramatically higher forging potential than anything else. Like, it would just be like this normal item would drop, and I think we took it out when we took out like shortly after adding exalted items in, because even though they could drop with a ton of forging potential and you can make this perfect T20 item with it really easily, that's all you could do with it. It was still kind of useless. So I think we may have taken it out. If we didn't, it's still kind of useless. So there's just like these huge, you'll see in like every single loot filter, hide all normal items. And you're like, why are we even dropping normal items? And I think even dropping like most magic items is pointless too. Like there's very niche situations where a magic item can be useful. And so like I'd increase bow damage is nice, but not what we want. So yeah, I'd like to see, what was I talking about? Yeah, I'd love to see a dramatic reduction in quantity and a dramatic increase in quality. But I don't think you can just say like, we're just going to drop less stuff and make it better. I don't think it works that way, because you lose, when you cut down on quantity so dramatically, you lose access to specificity through the filter. And so we'd have to build a whole other system around it. I don't know what that looks like yet, but there'd be a lot that needs to be done. From a lore perspective, where do the exiled mages and their cult of the Weaver fit into the timeline? And the cult of the Weaver, two different things. We know who they are. We aren't told where they fit in the story or the reason they would exist. Unlike Nemesis, Harbinger Victim, or Harbinger Orbis, Death Squad, are there stories in future patches that expand on them? Yes, there are definitely stories in future patches. The exiled mages I can tell you a little bit about. So the exiled mages were basically just part of the OG mages that were starting to dabble into magic that was forbidden type thing. They were trying to do things that the old mages club didn't like, and they were doing things they thought were dangerous and some considered to be unnatural or sort of thing. That's from, what is that? What is that reference to? Something. Doesn't matter. And the other mages basically locked them away and said, all right, we're gonna imprison you in this like time prison forever and send you to the future, and you can be the future's problem. So that's why when they come out, they're like, I did nothing wrong. And also why when they come out, they fight other bad guys. So a alignment is neutral, neutral aggressive. So when they pop out, if you walk away from them and there's like a big group of enemies around them, the enemies will fight the exile mages and they'll fight each other. The exile mages will like kill enemies for you if you want. Set up like a exile mage champion duel. Crimson, I love it. Don't care who you are, care where you're from, care what you did, as long as you drop loot. Yeah, and I can't sing. All right, let's get a needle out and let's fight this boss. There's one. What can we spare? Very, very little. We can spare a little bit of necrotic resistance, kind of, sort of, not really. Yeah, we fight in the Harbinger. As far as mana goes, do skills like Focus or the Void Knight mana gain stuff align with the vision? Yeah. If so, are there plans to give other classes similar opportunities for mana recovery? We do. Every class has some form of mana recovery options available, I think. You know, like I shift right now, and I get a ton of mana back. That's my main mana recovery system right now on Rogue, is by using shift. Right now, and like, so yeah, there's usually methods that you can build into a system to generate mana back. You can make potions generate mana. Any class can do that. There's on Primal, let's Rage is similar. Like, there's a lot of like mana generation stuff through Rage. Oh no. Sloppy Mike, real sloppy.
Do not stand in my way. Winter's mercy. Rise, my fallen champions, aid me. Shatter. Do not stand in my way.
Oh no.
Sons of Artor, aid me.
Any plans to add a socket system to the game? D4, PoE2, etc. implemented, but do you feel it would add any extra value into the game? We have talked about a socketing system so many times in last Epoch. Like internally, we've been like, all right, here's where we add a socketing system. And every single time, we're like looking at a potential system for it. We're designing something for it. We're figuring out how it's all going to work and fit and everything. And we're like,
what I must
well, we've
to protect
just recreated this, where there's like so we're just adding another affix socket, right? It's the same thing. It's a socket system. Oh no! Forgot about the Harbinger. I forgot about the Harbinger. Oh, Mike, you idiot. All right.
Winter's mercy.
See what I was saying before I died like an idiot because I thought the boss fight was over. Forgot about the Harbinger. Okay, we're gonna get this. Socketing systems frequently end up as essentially just an extension of the crafting system we already had. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. You can look at it and say, hey, you can put fixed things in that system that you can't put in a normal affix system. and that can make it more interesting, which is good. We kind of do that with like the sealed system, where you put specific affixes in the sealed categories, different sealed categories.
Do not stand in my way. Come, sons of Artor, aid me.
It's crazy how low damage this build is compared to last season's with the bear quake.
That was close.
Winter's mercy. Do not stand in my way.
Okay, now guys, don't forget,
Must
Harbinger's gonna spawn here.
my Herod was weak. Face me.
We're gonna focus on this fight, and then we're gonna get back to answering questions right afterwards. Might as well grab that. A little bit of extra damage.
A chill of oblivion comes for you.
Mega Thwomp. Got it. Alright, there we go.
Kill you.
Don't think there's anything else we want here. Increased armor is actually interesting. Yeah. Thank you, we have. We were talking about stuff. Socket system. Yeah, I'd love to add a socket system. I don't think we have a great use for it at the moment. I like that it's sitting there as as like a potential thing. If we do find the perfect thing, I'd rather find the perfect reason to do it and have this fantastic way to implement it ready to go that we can see and do. And it's just like, yay, I'm so glad we kept the system open rather than slapping something in because it works well in other games. Do you guys play the other RPGs to get inspirations? Shattered Omen seems like it takes inspiration from Breach. Both are fantastic mechanics. Yes, we definitely play the other RPGs. I've got a D2R character rolling right now. I've got a PoE 2 character rolling around right now. I've been playing a little bit of Titan Quest 2 as well. That's kind of all I've been playing right now, other than last Epoch. I did a Grim Dawn playthrough recently. Actually, almost about a year ago now. Oof, maybe more. Looking forward to the expansion on that. I'm planning on doing D4 next season. Used to play a ton of D3. Haven't done that for years though. So yeah, like used to play a bunch of PoE 1s. So, like, yes, we like. That's one of the things. One of like the main things when we're looking at, like one of the, not a requirement, but a big plus when we look at applications for hiring is like, you love ARPGs, and do you play a lot of ARPGs, and can you like chat about your favorite ARPG for an hour just by accident because you've been playing it and enjoy it, sort of thing. Like that's always a big plus. So if you're applying for a job at ESG, go play a bunch of ARPGs. Honestly, I think that's good advice for if you're applying for a job at any game studio in a genre. Go play a bunch of the games in that genre, like, and pick a genre you like, because it'll come through. Even if you're not like answering questions specifically about other RPGs, the fact that you know the genre really well will come through. All right, what are your thoughts on the state of RPGs establishing increasingly more complicated systems and mechanics? When you look at something like D2, where the complexity was physical/magical plus elemental versus something PoE2, where you rely on primers and activators in combat. Yeah. I think that, you know, This comes back to a lot of like the depth versus complexity balancing act that happens a lot, and we are very quickly increasing complexity of games, and it also is increasing depth, I think, which is a good thing. Now I think there is room for games to sit in lower depth, lower complexity and higher complexity spaces very, very easily. I think it's a good thing that there are games that fit into different complexity spaces, and I think because of that, you're always going to see just a variety of games that are doing it different. I haven't really said anything here. I do think that in general we're seeing a skew in popularity towards more complex games, and part of that comes from better feedback systems. So like there's language and mechanics in the game systems that tell you what's happening, that's evolved over the years, and it makes it so you can have greater complexity in these systems and have that information readily available to players. Like for example, in D2, you couldn't control where your minions went. You couldn't say like, minion army, go over there and fight. The way you controlled where your minions went is you got teleport and you teleported, and that forced your minions to all go into one big clump. That's how you control where your minions went. There was no way to say just like go over there, and like you see like last Epoch has it, Path of Exile 2 has it, lots of other games have it too, where you can just be like, minions go over there, press a button and they'll go over there. Ours is A. You can see the different in the cursor color changes, where the click move thing changes, as opposed to the player one is can you stand still and do it? No, I can't. It was the kind of white yellowy versus the red. Anyways, so there's like new tools that evolve that let you have more complexity, and better feedback systems that let you have higher complexity, where you're not actually taxing the player really significantly more. But yes, it does increase the tax on the players, like how much you're thinking about things in the moment and how many actions you have to take and things like that. And I think the really important part is that a lot of these games that do have higher complexity also give you options. So you can have 1-button build, you can have 4-button build. I think as designers, we probably like to see people engaging with the mechanics that the tools that we create, and the toys that we put in the system a little bit more. So we probably emphasize and reward people using more tools simultaneously. Like for example, where's Flow? Dancer? Flow? Yeah. Flow. Great example. Here we're like, every time you use a different skill, get a buff. Like this is so blatant, right? Keep using different skills, you get buffs for using different skills. Don't just use one skill, use lots of skills. But you see lots of builds like that, but then I think it's important that we also put into these systems like Warpath, where you're like, I'm gonna hold this button down. Stuff's gonna die around me. It's gonna be awesome. There's just different types of players. So I think that like, typically successful ARPGs will have multiple ways to engage. Higher complexity and lower complexity systems. All right, do you think having damage type element colors is a reasonable ask, or is it a coding visual nightmare? Damage type element colors. Oh, like you mean like the damage numbers? If this is your question. Yeah, I'm going to assume it means damage numbers. So like When you hit with a fireball, it shows up a red number. When you hit with a glacier, it shows a blue number. When you hit with a void ball, it's a purple number. You know, that sort of thing. I think it is possible to do, and I think it looks really bad. I understand why it might be interesting to do. It's all part of the problem as well is that like each hit can be multiple things. So you can have a hit that is literally all of the damage types in one can happen. That's possible. We don't do that anymore. I think the most we ever do is 2 for a single hit. But what do you color that? Do you like split the number in half? Do you put like halfway between the two? You get this like rainbow of colors. And I think the potential for it to, when we've looked at it, I think the idea is you see all these so many colors, and the numbers take so much of the visual weight away from the combat that you can't really see what's happening very well. I don't think it would look very good. I'm not super keen on the idea. I understand the desire, and I think and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think where it comes from more is trying to get more information on what's happening in combat, where you're trying to say like, I want to know, I've got this like big fire attack, and I've got this like weak ice attack that's happening constantly, and I want to know when the big fire attack is hitting, and I want to see the fire attack's damage and be able to figure out like what the thing that's doing the damage is based on the color. I think a more useful tool would be like turning, we can't do this right now, unfortunately, but being able to say like turning on damage numbers for specific abilities and saying like only this ability shows damage numbers. I think that would be a more useful tool. Right, I'm pretty sure by now you already understand the higher corruption farm dilemma. Majority of people doing high corruption are just for better rarity and quantity loot drop. I understand this would be a long and painful work to fix the problem. Would we see something in the next or future seasons to address the problem? This is something we're actively working on. I don't want to give any details on timeline when we're how we're addressing it, but this is something that we are actively working on right now. This is a I think we need to, in general, I think there's an opportunity for us to really improve the endgame progression system, both from a like difficulty progression curve and a reward progression curve, making it more clear when you're advancing to that next level, making it more clear. Like corruption is such a granular number where you can be like what's the difference between like 427 corruption and 428 corruption? Basically nothing. You know, especially when you get up into those higher numbers, those little chunks mean so little. And as a relative percentage increase of danger, even like 410 to 420 is 10 more, but that's a way lower percentage increase than 100 to 110. Even though they're both 10 increases, one of them's a 10% increase and one of them's a like 2% increase or whatever it is. Not even. And so it's, I think there's room for us to really rework the endgame system pretty heavily, in the progression structure of it, specifically, and reward structure as well. And this is you're right. This is a very big problem, and it's going to take a lot of work to actually fix. But we started it. I understand if it has lower priority compared to the other. You know what? We're I think we're far enough in. I think I've put you in suspense long enough. I do have a teaser today. Okay, so this is, so all it is art. It's still just art, but it is specific in-game 2D art of an item. This is a unique item that is coming in season 5, that will be very, very interesting if you like having like a legion of skeletons. If your goal is I want a legion of skeletons, this will be a great item for you. Yeah. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna keep playing here. I'm gonna answer more questions. And it's gonna sit there in the corner, and I will post this. I'll post the picture in Discord right after stream. So if you want to grab the image, you can have it. Instead of trying to do a screen capture here. I understand it has lower priority compared to other elements, but is there something down the pipe to put a little bit of life in NPC voice lines? We got some NPCs with emotions in their voice, while others, especially side characters, even if they spoke at all, even if they spoke at all, or if they even spoke at all. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. Just sound like a bored customer service worker. Welcome to town. Please check out my wares. I want to voice a character so bad. I will like rent studio time to go get proper. I'll take my own money. Anyone from audience listening, I will spend my own money to go rent a studio to get proper recording. I've got decent audio here, but not good enough probably. Maybe I can like build a thing. I would like build a recording box to do this, to get like voice lines in. I would give it I'd give it 110% for sure. Be so enthusiastic. I don't have specifics. I also that's not happening right now, but I'm gonna try and make it happen still. I've been saying that for years, that I would love to do that. I'd love to have, honestly, I would love to get like everyone in the studio a shot at doing that if they wanted it. I think that would be really cool. Voicing just like a little character here and there. We get so many more voice lines in. And yeah, for like little side characters, it's, I think it'd be cool. Doesn't, anyways, we have been, I know we've been recording more voice lines in general. There's like some of the main character actors that we have, I think have done a really fantastic job. And especially on some of the new stuff as well that I've heard has been good too. So like, yeah, it's another one of those things I think is always improving at the studio. And we're gonna keep improving it.
I'll trample you.
I'm reminded of like there's a web series Epic NPC Man. Great one. You haven't seen that? The Viva La Dirt League guys and gals. Speaking of other game developers, they're working on or just released a game.
Easy. Too easy.
Actually, I don't know much about it though, so it's possible that it's a joke and I just didn't get the joke. That's possible. I think it's real though. I'm pretty sure it's real. Someone tell me it's real. Okay, great. It's real. Wonderful. I was hoping so. Are the erased enemies that you face like the erased witch, for instance, abandoned masteries? From like a design and development standpoint, no. From like a lore standpoint, I could see it being that. I think that's a cool nod of like way to explain it. It's actually cool that it got minion damage on it. Put our gear back on.
Take care.
As you balance skills and classes, what metrics are you looking at? Time to level 100, farming speed, overkill speed. Additionally, as your team is looking to adjust balance, what classes and skills do you use as benchmarks for reasonable midpoint? So like the answer kind of is just yes to all those things. We usually take snapshots at different levels. So like we'll look at like the whole leveling process and be like, is there a point where you feel specifically weak? Is there a point where you feel specifically strong? Like, oh, you unlock this skill at like level 25 and all of a sudden you're a god for 30 levels and then it falls off and you feel terrible for another 20 levels. And then you unlock this other skill and you're a god for another 10 levels. And so like there's quite often curves in power on each class. And so we do look at that whole process. And then on top of that, yes, the like how easily you get through the end game process as well, and then also the like specific points along that process. So like you hit when you first hit empowered, when you first hit like 300 corruption, when you first hit 500 corruption. I'm making up numbers here. These aren't specific things that are necessarily on a checklist. Like once you hit 1,000 corruption, like what's the absolute pinnacle you can take this build to with a reasonable build, like with reasonable gear, like you know, we look at all those things and we usually compare it. We'll usually look at a few different builds in like currently popular builds. So like, okay, well this build is like an S tier build and people are taking it to thousands of corruption. We'll compare it against that. We'll look at this build that's like just a mediocre build and people are using it sometimes. And then we'll look at the crap builds, like whatever Mike's playing on stream, and we'll so we try and compare to a pretty wide variety of other things and look at it in a wide variety of situations. Why did I pick that up? I really don't want it. Hey, I just realized we're over 1 million gold, I think, for the first time. Those hurt. Those chunk. All right. Hey, Mike, do you ever think about introducing a mechanic like crushing blow on items? I know it's hard to balance, but certain builds would definitely need this in order to beat Uber or just normal Aberoth. So yes, we have considered putting it on items. It has been rejected from being on items. I think that if there was a specific build that needed something like this, the better place to put it is on that specific build, not on an item. So like looking at the specific skills that are frequently used, and putting on those specific skills is the way to do it. Oh, whatever. We need more things to slap at an egg. What's our next egg target? We need to do something about that. I'm tempted just to use one of those Hydra-arcs and just like see how it feels. Just getting chunked. Wow.
They won't forget.
All right. Get back here. Would you guys ever make dungeons? I stopped talking and started playing for a bit there. I just forgot I was streaming. I was just like, I'm playing a game. That happens sometimes. Oh. Alright. Would you guys ever make dungeons and echo you can drop on the map? Because they're accessible by just waypointing to them, and like dropping a key is kind of that same thing. Probably not. It would be a pretty big departure to integrate that.
Yes.
Stuff.
It will shatter around you.
I mean, it's possible. I think the way the dungeons are set up, they don't work as echoes. So I think there would be a pretty big technical hurdle to cover there. And I don't think there's a big enough bonus to make it really good. It's part of the PCG system that I would really love to be able to expand, is being able to go from one to another. Any large changes architecturally, like to the Unity engine or anything? I just feel that performance is kind of mediocre in echoes. I mean, we've been doing a ton of work on performance lately. It's been a huge focus. The primary focus on that has been on memory usage, which has been recently, we just merged in a gigantic optimization branch, which is the reason why there's not going to be any more season 4 patches, because unless there's something major that absolutely has to be fixed, that's like game breaking, because we can't use, we have to go back to a version really far ago before we can integrate anything new that we've done. So we have to re-implement anything we change, we have to implement twice, because there was a big hard break shift that happened. And then yeah, we're also looking at engine upgrade as well. I think we're on like 6.0. We're looking at 6.3 or something like that. Don't quote me on those numbers. Something like that. It's not a huge one, but still a decent one. That's probably post season 5 though, I think. But yeah, we've been working on a lot of optimization stuff right now, big time. We're changing the way that stash data is stored. This sounds so like silly to if you don't understand how it's set up now, and like the reason why changing it's good is it seems really silly. And I'm not saying I understand it fully myself, but the short version is that the character, your stash data is in a lot of individual documents basically, and we're combining them into one larger one, so you can have fewer individual transactions when you're making changes to the data.
That was close.
Meaning it can happen way faster and way cheaper. And is less prone to issues.
Too easy.
So yes, there's structural back-end changes we're making that are gonna fix problems and make things better.
You will fracture like glass.
I don't think it's a SQL database, so it's or SQL database, depending on how you're talking about it. So I don't know if the big tables versus joins is quite exactly the difference, but kind of, yeah. On that same scale of difference, I guess. Not a database guy. Took like 2 database classes in university.
They won't.
No, just enough to probably be very dangerous. But even with access, have still never caused a major problem. Yeah, that's my claim to fame. Mike didn't break it. Ooh. All right. Over time, PoE has added stuff like passive mastery and cluster jewels, etc. Is there something in the works for last Epoch's skill passive menu? I don't mean adding or removing nodes, but something like changing the system functionally. We've talked about some functional changes to the passive system over the years, quite a few of them actually. There's nothing. I wouldn't say there's a major change, like on the immediate horizon. Like the biggest changes will be like UI visual stuff. We've talked about different things though. I can talk about some of the things we've discussed as options. And like while we're not doing them now, it doesn't mean we won't do something maybe similar at some point. But you know, there's no major changes planned. There's obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, there are little changes planned, like new nodes and rebalancing old nodes and moving nodes around and changing where skills unlock and things like that. Like this could get moved up to 15 or something like that, or something that's in like maybe this is not happening, but like net could get switched with aerial assault or something like that. You know, it's not happening, but just as an example. So yeah, there's UI changes, things like that. But like the things we've talked about are, we've talked about moving these skills into the tree itself. We've talked about having the skills be and like having them be nodes you have to take, so you have to spend a passive point to unlock the skill. And have it give something else too. So or sometimes having them be threshold nodes. We've talked about that too, where it's like maybe you take 5 points in a node that gives you like throwing damage, and then you get this throwing attack. We've talked about having mutually exclusive nodes. So like a switch node where you pick like A or B, like you pick one or the other. You can't take both of them. So like here, this example where there's like a branch, maybe it would be a single node. So there's like a single big node, and you have to pick one or the other, and you can't have both of them. So one of them's like a lot more crit chance, the other one's like a lot more crit damage. Maybe it's a pretty basic example, but something like that. We've talked about, what else have we talked about? We almost had like a big node when you like unlocked this, when you got past this line, it like unlocked another passive bonus that just happened, or like half of your class passive bonus would start locked, and as soon as you got past the line, the other half it would unlock. We've talked about having itemized passive nodes similar to like you mentioned PoE's like jewels, where you have like specific things that go in and they like unlock nodes. You find items that go in and they cause nodes to show up. We've talked about we've talked about so many things like this. Yeah. I think there's definitely room for things like this to show up. We're always cautious about putting too much complexity. I know I brought up complexity a lot. It's like we talk about it all the time. We don't actually talk about it that much. but we're cautious to put complexity into early stages of the system. So like, it's part of why the base tree is, so you put fewer points in there. It's kind of sparse. It's more generic nodes, and it sort of ramps up that complexity. And then you get into here, and like the lower sections of a tree are usually a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more simple. They're really signposty on what this class likes to do. So like this, the ability dancer has a lot of melee abilities down here, and the marksman has a lot of range ones. A bit. The falconer has like a lot of like hybrid nodes and pet nodes and things like that. And then you start getting into the higher nodes, and usually there's more complex mechanics that show up in the higher nodes, because as you're getting through the game, your character's leveling up, you're getting more player experience as well, and then you are able to, understand and evaluate these nodes easier. And so I could see like some of these systems that we've talked about only appearing later in the tree, things like that. Yeah, we've talked about lots of these things. Passive trees, mechanically and functionally pretty stable right now. It's not something that we see a lot of design suggestions show up about right now. But I would love to expand a little bit more. The old passive system was very complicated, and I loved it, and I'm very biased. But that's, you can see it in our like Kickstarter video if you want to go see what the old passive tree looked like. It was a grid where you had two types of points, and you like spent 1 point to like unlock nodes and the other point to use the nodes. We decided a 2-point system was too complicated. I agree. It was too complicated. And I still want to use that system again for, I know I've said this a million times. Everyone who's here most weeks is like, Mike, you've said this before. I still want to use that in like a dungeon or something like that, or like some end game mechanic. I want to use that. It'll happen. I'll keep saying it. One day it'll happen. You can see what just happened there, because I have been playing PoE 2 where I tried to just hold space to run, and I just stood still and didn't move at all.
You have no chance. You have no chance. That was close.
The Ark hungers.
Cool. That was close. Still something alive? Ugh. Big gold patch. All right, where are we at? 6 minutes left. Basically cleared the board. Feeling good. I'm having fun today. We are going to. Oh, I was gonna switch out Hydroarch just to try it. Okay. Next one I'll switch it out just to try it. Anything jumping out at me? Oh, we have more of these. Might as well. Always have a compass laying around somewhere, don't we? Is there any chance you can add a skill / node that can convert mage to void damage? I think we need a lot more than one node to do that. If we wanted to do that, it would need to be like that's okay. Mage's synergies are so entrenched in elemental damage that having anytime we do that, we do have like significant, like an item will have significant support for that specific system. So we have a few of those, right? Dark Shroud of Cinders and Lament of the Last Refuge both are like mage void items. But I wouldn't say it's a supported archetype. I could see that being the sort of thing that we do eventually support, but it's, I mean, who knows if that'll ever happen. I'll tell you this, it's definitely not on the list for anything coming up here. You won't see it in season 5. Sorry. Or season 6, really. I don't want you to get your hopes up to be like, he left room for it. That's a big thing. That would require a lot. And I'd love to do it. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with it. I think the visuals would be really awesome. You get that Void Caster stuff, the fantasy in there, because like Void Knight's kind of missing that Void Caster vibe right now. And there's probably room to expand that as well. But it's always gonna be rooted in that plate class fantasy. Okay, we're gonna take the Hydra Arc out for a spin. See how it feels. I'm gonna bring the compass just in case. I know this is a bad test because we're not using any of the +4 skills. I should have done something on that I had better frame of reference on how long it would take to do. We are struggling damage-wise here, but I think we'd be struggling damage-wise anyways. Okay, let's switch. There's a ton more arrows coming out. That's for darn sure. But is it actually translating to that much more damage? Feels like it is. Feels like it's a pretty significant damage bump. I think we have to corrupt this before even consider it really as an option. Neither one of them is fantastic. Welcome to the slam. I mean, is that a perfect T7 roll on crit multi? Good God. Yeah, of course that's the one that breaks. Not the good one. Oh, that's too bad. That's not a big deal. Well, we might give it a go next time. We've got one. There's our other one. Can you tell? Can you tell? It's the same thing, right? And on that terrible disappointment, it is time to end. I hope you had fun. I know I did. I will be back same time, same place next week. If I didn't answer your question, I apologize. Please head on over to our Discord and I'll do my best to answer it there. We have an Ask the Devs channel. Lots of great community members that are active there answering lots of questions as well. About it. See you next week. Have a great time, everybody. Drink lots of water.